In September 2015, at 12 years old, I created my first Instagram account, and a few months later, in May 2016, I created a second account, an alt. I created this account as I didn't want to clutter up my main account with a mass following of pages and to have a space to share funny posts with friends. But in the 5 years since then, this space developed into so much more. Coming to Instagram, a flattened world of potential was discovered in the images I experienced and reposted, and taking on this influx of images in my formative years shaped me into who I am today. To begin with, posts on this account mainly consisted of cursed images along with a few basic meme formats. The rule was if I liked the meme, I reposted it. I loved cursed images and used to compete with friends trying to find uncomfortable images and seeing who could confuse the others or make them cringe the most. My posting habits were developed through the group chats I was in at this age, and at this point it was defined by a strong social aspect. It was a way of bonding with friends. Turning 15, a similar style of cursed images remained, but memes and posting also became a way of accessing culture and engaging with interests, as I discovered a small community of pages exclusively making memes about music and films. Much of this was downstream of /mu, 4chan's music board, and exposed me to a variety of music from harsh noise to shoegaze. But as I fell into these online communities, and as my interests became more niche, I started to prefer time spent online to time spent offline and the world of possibilities offered to me through a screen. I now spent far more time on this second account than the account I considered my main, and this became a period where posting began to feel like a persona, as due to not being linked to my name, the account felt hidden. The distance it had from my IRL self made it seem as if no one was looking and no one was judging, allowing the me presented through this faceless collection of images to be far more authentic. Growing older, the account morphed and became a space for me to vent and, at times, acted like a void for me to shout into. The posts changed from focusing on music to memes reflecting my mental health. These posts were often hyperbolic and presented with an ironic detachment to the point that even I didn't know what the distance was between me and the content that went out onto the page. Memes about mental health increased at the age of 16, as due to going into lockdown, I began to spend more time online, increasing the number of images I took in and spat out onto the page. The posts at this point were very pessimistic. The doomer wajek reigned supreme as memes became a way to express my anxieties and fears around the future. At 16, I came across Politigram and Theorygram, highly charged political spaces on Instagram occupied by people around my age who posted constantly about niche ideologies across the political spectrum, critical theory, and philosophy. The memes that came out of these accounts were repositories containing alternative political thinking. They distilled these ideas into images which could be easily spread. It was an energizing time coming across them. I read Marx and Mark Fisher because I wanted to be in on the memes made about them, and at this point in my life I found the work of the cultural theorist Fisher to be particularly helpful in articulating my feelings of atomization and dread surrounding the future. When reposting memes about Fisher, it didn't necessarily feel as if any material changes was going to come out of it, but instead value was gained through a feeling of solidarity, as when I reposted politicized content from numerous other anonymous meme pages. It felt like we were all in it together. As I was struggling to make sense of the world I was going into, posting about critical theory became a source of comfort for me. And despite the esoteric content of some of these images, they provided a coherency. For a period, I changed the name of the account and began creating and reposting Foucault-themed content inspired by a very quick reading of his Wikipedia and a PDF of Discipline and Punish. I was exposed to a large amount of political content in this time, but the story was always the same. I like the meme I repost. The pessimistic posts and doomer imagery still appeared on the page, but the symbols were now used in a different way, Instead of presenting these figures in a vacuum, as I did a year ago, they now appeared linked to material issues such as the environment or exploitation of labor. Gradually, posting branched out from politigram and theorygram to simply posting images that I was drawn to. Being drawn to an image was triggered by various different things, ranging from an image's weirdness, hilarity, sincerity, awfulness, or beauty. It feels strange to think about how these images ended up on the page, as posting is such a reflexive process. It requires so little thought, but gradually the account morphed into an eclectic collection of miscellaneous images. It felt as if it now reflected its original intention from 4 years ago of providing a space for me to share posts I in one way or another liked. At 17, memes also led me to come across a number of artists and groups who blended two things which in my life had been very distinct: art and online subculture. One of these was the online community Do Not Research. The conversations I either had or observed as a part of the group, along with the readings and work I came across, played a big role in the development of my artistic practice and in my outlook on the world. The group also introduced me to the platform Discord, a messaging platform built around communities. Sharing memes in groups on this platform felt far more communal than throwing a post out on Instagram. Here it was easier to generate conversation and responses with images bouncing off one another. And that's how a majority of my time online is now spent, split between Discord and Instagram, with opinions and understanding of topics often drawn out through the content I come across on these platforms. Despite the different ways the account's been used in the period it's been run, posting still feels the same for me, a simultaneously ecstatic and numbing process. In the 5 years, posting has been a constant, something I can count on, an outlet for emotions and opinions and a space for both jokes and sincerity. Viewing the account chronologically, the images narrate my growth, reflecting different stages in my life. I look at the images and the images stare back. At this point, I'm unsure if I dictate what I post or if what I post dictates me, defining who I am, influencing who I am becoming.